Well, hello, this is Dr. Jeff Kim, National Board Certified Teacher, and I'm here with...
My name is Mr. Kim, and I teach math at Savannah High School and Unified School District.
New to our district, but has been teaching for many, many years now. About, is it 5 years?
This is my 7th year going in.
Now, we're here on the Ed Family channel where, once again, thinking about how we can help our students find out what they're good at so that they can do good with it. I'm here with J. Kim, teacher. What brought you into teaching to begin with, first of all?
I got into teaching because I majored in philosophy when I was in college. What is the occupation that is going to help me love God and love people the most? And I think the job that came to mind was teaching, and so I jumped right into it, and that was the place that I've been for this long.
Absolutely. You know, like the humanity is so important to the work of teaching, for sure.
Absolutely.
Now, today we're going to talk about mentorship, and there's going to be 3 questions that I asked. The first question is, like, what is mentorship? The second question is, like, why mentorship? Like, why would we want to have mentors in our life? And lastly, how do we develop mentor relationships with one another? And the reason why I have Jay here is because I think he's just phenomenal at this. So, Jay, we're not going to name any names of who your mentors are or anything like that. No names. But just kind of your process, like, what is it? What is mentorship? Why is it important? And then how do you do it? Because when I've seen Jay connect with other people, he's just constantly learning. Once again, he's been teaching for many years, but he's a person that's a constant learner. And we need this. We need this as teachers if we're going to then continue to grow ourselves so that we can support students. Today's topic is mentorship again. So what exactly is mentorship?
Man, that's a really good question. I think the first thing that kind of comes to mind when I think of mentorship is, so like back then, like in the biblical times, if it's okay if I...
Sure, please, whatever you feel comfortable connecting with.
The rabbis, what they used to do was they would have disciples, and they would basically teach these disciples about the Bible, the Torah, and what the imagery that they would kind of talk about with discipleship is that the disciple will follow after the teacher, so much so that the dust of the feet of the teacher would fall on their head, and that's how closely they're following the master or the teacher, the rabbi. Obviously, I think in American culture, that's not something that we see very often because maybe we don't have, it's just, I haven't seen that very often, you know? But I think coming from that kind of perspective, and also I maybe being Korean, it's a little bit helpful with Korean culture because there is that kind of hierarchical, like respect for the elder, you listen and things like that. I think that's kind of where my discipleship kind of comes from. And so for me, automatically, when somebody's older or somebody's in a higher position than I am at, I automatically give them respect. But let's just say somebody who's like not in the same position, but maybe like lower in terms of some standards. Like I don't look down on them, right? And there's definitely some things to learn for, definitely. And when I see someone like you, Dr. Kim, is like, man, you've accomplished so much, and you're in a position that's very respected. And so I look at that, and I kind of put myself kind of in that position of like that humble like disciple where I'm kind of following after you. Maybe you don't feel it that way, but that's essentially what I'm doing. So that's what that is seeing. So like it's not only just about, that's the imagery, and so it's not just about learning intellectually, because intellectually stuff you could just learn it on YouTube. It's also getting the heart of the mentor.
I love this. And first of all, Jay, I'm just so flattered that you would consider me in that way. But in addition to that, I'm also seeing that humility of being a teachable person. And then secondly, you're kind of reframing mentorship from like a classroom sterile kind of environment where you're learning some type of content to almost like a lifestyle that you're following. That's a very deep insight of mentorship. You know, kind of seeing there beyond just whatever content you want to learn. Let's go into the why of mentorship. So I noticed you seek this out, you seek out learning from others. Why do you do this?
That's a good question. I think number one is, I think this is fun. And I think a part of the reason why I live, one of the purpose in my life is continue to grow as a person. And so, yeah, anytime I have an opportunity, somebody that I really respect, somebody that I want to model my life after, I really pursue that. And I think also growing up fatherless or growing up without a father figure, I think that definitely has a role to play in it. And so every time there's like a male person that's just like doing amazing things with their life, I automatically have this kind of draw to them because that's something that I want to model my life after. And so I just say number one, it's just kind of fun. That's just kind of how I live or why I live. And number two, maybe that kind of emptiness that might have been left, now being filled by God, but kind of maybe that emptiness that's left, I kind of want to fill that through mentorship, perhaps.
Wow.
So that's maybe, yeah.
You know what? We were not designed to live in silos. In fact, this YouTube channel is called Ed Family. This idea that we're kind of connected to one another. We can't do it by ourselves. We must do it together. So that's insightful.
Absolutely.
Now, how do you make these mentorship connections? Because I've been kind of studying you too, Jay.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you're kind of looking up to me as a mentor, but it doesn't always have to be age. There are things that I can learn from you too. So in some ways, you're my mentor as well.
No.
So how are you making connections with others and letting them know, hey, I want to learn from you. I want to make these connections. What is it that you do? Because there's a lot of people who are like, I would love that, but they just don't know where to begin. And yet you're so like confident. You take the initiative. Let's hear some specifics.
Well, I guess, so maybe it's just an example to share with Superintendent Matsuda. So I don't know how it happened, honestly, and I was just standing in line, new teacher orientation, don't know a thing, and Superintendent Matsuda comes up, gives me a handshake, and I was honored, I was really honored, and I was really grateful that somebody like him would spend time to talk with me and shake my hand, get to know my name. And that in itself was like, wow, this superintendent's different. And I've never had a superintendent do that to me, right? And then hearing about all of his achievements. But when I saw him and met him, I was like super honored. I was like, oh my gosh, Superintendent Matsuda, like thank you, and maybe because of that, maybe gratitude and maybe honor and maybe just that enthusiasm, like wow, this guy's amazing and what an amazing opportunity. Maybe that kind of aura maybe draws people. I'm not sure, but maybe it can be that.
Yes, I think attitude has a huge impact.
Yeah,
for sure. And you're saying it's coming out through enthusiasm, honor.
So
so you're expressing that.
Yeah.
But then how are you making these connections where you're going to get that time to get that mentorship? How do you do that?
It's a leap of faith. I mean, obviously, I reached out to Superintendent Matsuda. I was like, hey, can I meet with you? And so he actually asked that first, like, hey, just schedule a meeting with me. But I didn't know how that was gonna what's gonna happen. But I was really scared. I was like, oh my gosh, this guy, big guy. I'm just trying to do it. But I emailed him. I was like, hey, can I meet with you? And he's like, yeah, go ahead. And so I started emailing him every month. It's like, hey, can I meet with you? Can I meet with you? Can I meet with you? And so taking that leap of faith of wanting to just make that connection.
Wow.
And every time I go there though, like all I do is listen. Like I'm not there to speak my mind. I'm not trying to tell, like I'm not here to express my opinion very much. Yeah, like most of the time what I'm doing is I'm listening, I'm resonating with what the mentor is saying, and I'm just here to absorb and I'm just here to learn. And then at the end, I always express my gratitude. I'm like, this lesson and this time has been so meaningful to me, especially what you said about this, and here's why, and here's how I'll apply it to my life. And because it truly means a lot to me that somebody would do that.
Sounds like you have like some courage, first of all, to take the initiative to make that connection and make that appointment happen. Then when you're there, just that active listening and learning from the other person. And then afterwards, once again, the gratitude. So that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I guess so. It's it's that enthusiasm, that leap of faith, that listening, and then active listening, and then gratitude. So
let's say that didn't work out. Would you not ask others to have mentorship opportunities, or would you not let that discourage you and just continue to seek it out?
I think I actually don't. I don't actually think in my mind. I'm like, oh, I gotta seek out a mentor. I just naturally gravitate towards people. So like when I talk to somebody, like I don't, it's like an unconscious thing. I'm like talking to someone and I'm like, wow, like I didn't even think this, but now that I'm thinking back, it's like, oh wow, I really connected with that person. Oh, let's see what that person's, maybe we can connect again. But sometimes it's like, oh, I really connected with that person, and that's kind of it, right? And I'm not sure what the decision-making process is, but there's a draw, I guess. So, but yeah, even if something doesn't go right, I pursued it, it didn't go right, it's like, it's fine. There's always more, there's also other opportunities. But yeah, connections like this, I think, are once in a lifetime. Yeah. So I gotta grab onto this one.
Well, I tell you, I saw you, Jay, do this, and I was like, oh, this is like a diamond in the rough. Somebody who's doing something that I don't often see. Yeah. Young people or older people like myself even really seeking out those mentorships, because that's what's going to help us to grow and push ourselves to really improve. And you have some really practical strategies. So thank you for giving us your insights. If you like Jay's thoughts, he has mentioned he loves asking questions and being on the channel. So if you like it, make sure you give this a like on the video. Put in the comments with more with Jay, more questions for Jay. So Jay, thank you so much once again.
No, thank you. I appreciate your time.
All right, this is Dr. Jeff signing out from Ed Family.
Bye.